students, welcome to the course Bioprocess Engineering. So far in this course, we have studied the key concepts with basic reactor design, methods to calculate the yield of a given process and thermodynamic efficiency of load, and also we have studied briefly about the methods for formulating the medium and optimizing it. Now, with fresh mind, let us gear up into the fourth unit. Processes involves production of industrially important products from given organisms. The organisms that are used in a given bioprocess can be a microbial cell, a plant cell, and an animal cell. And we know the basic concepts in a bioprocess, wherein the substrate will be utilized by the organisms to produce the metabolites, and these metabolites are produced by the cells at various physicochemical conditions, and any change in the physicochemical conditions will be altering the growth pattern and product formation kinetics of biomolecules, wherein the reactors that are being used in the bioprocess has to be modified in such a way to accommodate these cells in its in situ condition in order to maximize the yield of a given process. Yes, in today's class, we will be discussing in detail the different types of reactors that are being used.
The basic purpose of a bioreactor is to visualize the size of the unit to deliver the product both qualitatively and quantitatively with high reproducibility. The main components for fermentation process will be discussed now. The process will be carried out in the suitable bioreactors, wherein the bioreactors are designed in such a way that it meets the basic requirements of fermentation process. The bioprocess will be carried out with the help of suitable microorganisms. The main important constraint in any given process is the culture that is being used. The organisms that is being used for fermentation process should be highly pure. Second, an optimized substrate with proportionate quantity of carbon, nitrogen, basic minerals, vitamins and lipids has to be used to maximize the yield of a given process. Thirdly, sufficient concentration and flow rate of gas should be maintained inside a reactor with high mass transfer rate. The fourth parameter that is necessitated in any given process is the optimized process conditions to get an reproducible yield. The basic parameters to be considered in designing and constructing of the fermenters will be discussed now. The reactor should be operated under aseptic conditions for a longer periods of time. Sterility from the start point to end of the process should be achieved. Second, the optimal mixing conditions with low and uniform shear has to be maintained in the reactor with adequate mass transfer of oxygen so that the cells do not suffer from any inadequacy of oxygen supply. The flow conditions should be well defined inside the reactor, and the heat transfer should be gentle and should be controlled inside the reactor. The design requirements of the reactor will be studied under different heads. First, the reactor should be able to be sterilized, and two types of reactors are commonly used: sterilizable and autoclavable instruments, wherein the sterilizable instruments are those in which the medium will be added into the reactor vessel, and the reactor vessel along with the medium will be sterilized at the holding time and holding temperature of the given medium. Whereas in the autoclavable instruments, the reactor vessel and the medium will be sterilized using a suitable autoclave, and the reactor will be assembled, after which the medium will be added into the reactor vessel at aseptic conditions. The reactor should be simple in construction, providing the optimum physicochemical parameters for the organisms to grow. The basic design of a reactor is such the reactor vessel should be assembled on top with the suit probes for measuring and controlling the given process. The aspect ratios with respect to height to diameter of the reactor and the agitator has to be maintained inside the reactor. Also, the reactors should be assembled with also suitable provisions for measuring and monitoring foaming, pH, air supply, dissolved oxygen concentration, temperature of the reactor has to be present in the reactor. Also, enough mass transfer rate inside the reactor should be facilitated using a suitable sparger and the impellers. The temperature has to be maintained in the reactor by running chilled water stream and hot water stream. The heat transfer between hot and chilled water supply will be maintaining an optimum temperature inside the reactor. Further, the reactor should be scaled up to maximize the product yield without compromising the height to diameter and the aspect ratios inside the reactor. Here is an example of scaling up the reactor where the lipid production from the yeast has been scaled up from 50 ml wherein the yield of the lipid has been maintained. Should be having the ability to be flexible for the production of various products. A list of products that are produced from Pfizer, the renowned biotech company, is listed here where the same reactor has been used for producing different biomolecules and also using the extractor that has been used for producing various pharmaceuticals has been used for producing the vaccine. So, by changing the strain and the media substance, the reactor should be flexible enough to subject it for various processes, and the reactors should be having a long-term stability wherein high quality steel has to be used for manufacturing the steel body. A combination of carbon, silica, manganese, phosphorus, sulfur, nickel, chromium and molybdenum has to be adjusted and the alloy has to be made in such a way which provides a high durability and less corrosion for the reactors. For example, increase in chromium concentration reduces the corrosion resistance, wherein increase in nickel concentration increases the durability and corrosion resistance of the steel, and carbon steel enhancements conversely affects the corrosion rate, and increase in molybdenum concentration reduces the chloride corrosion. So, based upon the properties of the metal incorporated, steel has to be made in such a way that the vessel is provided with a long-term stability. Provisions for measuring foam inside a reactor has to be provided in order to control the foam formation and maximizing the yield of a given process. The reactor that has been designed for a smaller process volume has to be scaled up without compromising the yield. The bioreactors have been broadly classified upon various categories as process requirements, mode of operation and ideal flow characteristics for the suspension cultures. Any given process can be broadly classified into aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic process are those where oxygen is used as an electron acceptor. As oxygen is used as an electron acceptor in aerobic process, the reactors should be provided with an inlet supply of air, where the air that is being sparged into the reactor should be filtered using suitable filters, and only the pure air will be allowed to enter inside the reactor. Whereas in the case of anaerobic process, the process is carried out by exploiting other electron acceptors, wherein the reactors has to be made without supply of oxygen. Second, based on the mode of cultivation, a bioprocess can be broadly classified as batch, fed batch and continuous cultivation systems. In the batch system, the medium will be inoculated with the suitable culture and a process time is provided for the organisms to utilize the medium and produce the suitable products. The products of any bioprocess can be the metabolites from the organism or in certain cases the organisms as such, that is the biomass will be the distilled process product as in the case of Saccharomyces cerevisiae cultures. In the second case, fed batch cultivation system, the medium will be inoculated with suitable organisms and the process will be allowed to continue, and after some time, once the limiting substrate concentration is about to be depleted, in order to prolong the log phase of the cultures, fresh media will be added into the reactor, wherein in the third case, continuous cultivation systems, there is a continuous supply of nutrient to the reactor vessel and the product will be continuously withdrawn from the reactor, where the substrate and product concentration will be maintained a constant and the process will be carried out under steady state conditions. Further, the process can be broadly classified as steady and unsteady state reactor. In the steady state, at any given point of time, the concentration and cell density will be maintained a constant with respect to time, but whereas in the cases of batch and fed batch and perfusion systems, the cell density varied in due course of time. These process, batch, fed batch and perfusion cultivation systems are categorized into an unsteady state process. The bioreactors are designed to suit the given operating conditions, taking into consideration the microbiological and biochemical characteristics of cell systems, hydrodynamic characteristics of the bioreactor, mass and heat characteristics of the reactor, kinetics of cell growth and product formation, genetic stability characteristics of the cell system, aseptic equipment design, control of bioreactor environment, implication of bioreactor design on downstream product separation, capital and operating costs of the reactor and potential for bioreactor scale up. First, let us discuss in detail about the stir tank reactor. The stir tank reactors are cylindrical vessels which are provided with circulations of cooling water and hot water, and continuous mixing is provided through suitable agitators, and as supply into the reactor was provided by using suitable sparges. Baffles are placed at the sides in terms of even numbers in order to avoid the sticking of molecules at the sides of the reactor. Any given fermenter will be attached with various parts such as impellers to stir the media continuously and hence prevent cells from settling down and distribute oxygen throughout the medium. Sparges, which are nothing but the aerators that introduce sterile oxygen to the medium in case of aerobic fermentation process. Baffles, which are nothing but the vortex breakers that disrupt vortex and provide better mixing. Inlet air filter, where filter air which filters air before it enters the fermenter. Exhaust air filter that traps and prevent contaminants from escaping. Rotameter that measures the flow rate of air or liquid, pressure gauge that measures pressure inside the fermenter, temperature probe that measures and monitor changes in temperature of the medium during the process, cooling jacket that maintains the temperature of the medium throughout the process, pH probe that measures and monitor pH of the medium, dissolved oxygen probe that measures dissolved oxygen concentration in the reactor, level probe that measures the level of medium, foam probe that detects the presence of foam, acid that is used to maintain the required pH by neutralizing the basic environment, base reservoir that maintains the required pH of the medium by neutralizing the acidic environment, and antifoams that break down and prevent the formation of foams whereby increasing the mass transfer coefficient in the reactor, sampling point to obtain samples during the process, various valves that regulates and controls the flow of fluids, and control panel that monitors the overall parameters. The agitators are driven using the suitable motor, and the another end of the agitator is connected with the impeller blades. The design and the number of impellers connected to the agitator increases the mass transfer rate inside the reactor. In certain cases, the agitator will be led into the reactor from the bottom, wherein the chances are there for the particles to settle at the bottom, leading to contamination issues, wherein most preferred agitator is mounting it from the top. Next, the sphager that is being used to provide air supply into the reactor can be designed based upon the needs. It varies from porous plate, multiplex orifice nozzle or single orifice nozzle. These sphages are used based upon the microbial oxygen demand of any given organisms to meet the critical oxygen concentration inside the reactor. Next, another reactor of industrial importance is the packed bed reactor, wherein these packed bed reactors are cylindrical vessels which are packed with suitable solid matrices, wherein this packing material increases the surface area inside the reactor, and this packing material will be of uniform size, and the mode and operation and efficiency of a packed bed reactor depends upon the particle, container, rate of deposition and treatment of the deposition, the shape, absolute size, size distribution, mass elasticity and surface properties affects or the various factors that has to be considered in choosing a different particle for packing the material. Next, the efficiency of packed bed reactor is also affected by the shape, size and surface properties of the container. Normally, sphere, cube, hollow cube, solid cylinder, hollow cylinder, four-hole cylinder, single syringe, cross-filled, grooved cylinder, pearl ring or some of the particle shapes that are being used in the packed bed reactor, and these particles increases the efficiency of reactor. Next, what you can see from seeing this picture? Yes, it is nothing but a tender coconut which has been added up with a straw. So what is the driving force that makes the tender coconut to come up? Yes, it is none but the air. The same phenomenon is applied in bioprocess, wherein the airlift reactors are designed where the driving force that enhances mass transfer inside a reactor, increasing the efficiency of the reactor, is the airlift reactor, is the air that is being sparged in at a defined flow rate. These airlift reactors are mega-sized reactors that are being used for the production of biopesticides and fertilizers in Japan. So, interested students, you can spot out and identify the company where the instrument is being used. So, the basic phenomena in airlift reactor is that air at a defined flow rate will be sparged into the reactor, and the pressure at which the air enters into the reactor will be sufficient enough for providing mass transfer inside a reactor. These types of reactors are used where the movement of agitator provides maximum stress to the organisms and the cells are subjected to more stress. So, these types of reactors are commonly used when working with plant and mammalian cell lines where the agitator is avoided and the flow rate of air is just sufficient enough to provide complete mixing inside the reactor. The airlift reactor has four main parts. First comes the headspace region, downcomer, riser, and the grooved nozzle bank, where air that is passed through the grooved nozzle bank will be moving up in the airlift reactor through the riser section and reaches the headspace region, and as the pressure and velocity gets reduced as it reaches the headspace region, it starts coming down in the downcomer section. So, rapid movement of air in the riser and downcomer section is sufficient enough for providing complete mixing inside the reactor. Based upon the position of riser and the downcomer, these airlift reactors are broadly classified as internal loop split airlift reactor, internal loop concentric tube reactor, external loop airlift reactor. In the internal loop split airlift reactor, there is one riser section and one downcomer section. In the second type, internal loop concentric tube reactor, there are two downcomer section and one riser section, whereas in the external loop airlift reactor, there is no direct contact between riser and downcomer section, but because of variation in velocity of incoming air, it adapts a path to reach the downcomer section and comes down. Next, another important reactor that is to be used in a bioprocess is fluidized bed reactor, wherein the rate of motion of fluid inside the reactor is sufficient enough for providing mass transfer inside the reactor to facilitate suitable oxygen for production of suitable metabolite. These fluidized bed reactors are used in those cases the need for oxygen is very less and the flow rate at which the medium will be fluidized is sufficient enough to enhance the mass transfer rate inside a reactor. These types of reactors uses less oxygen where the oxygen demand and power requirements will be very less in the fluidized bed reactors. Next comes the bubble column reactors, where the size of the bubble that comes into the reactor is sufficient enough to provide mass transfer rate inside the reactor, and the rate of movement of bubbles inside the reactor enhances the efficiency and economics of bioprocess. To summarize, In today's class, we have discussed the different types of reactors and various accessories that are being used in a bioreactor to monitor and control the bioprocess. The basic types of reactors that we have seen are stir tank reactor, bubble column reactor, packed bed reactor, fluidized bed reactor, and the airlift reactor. The accessories that are being used in a reactor for controlling and monitoring the bioprocess can be broadly classified as sensors, controllers, and operating systems. Thank you.